This is INBrief with Joss Engebretsen, Portfolio Manager of the Barwon Disability Accommodation Fund, Barwon Investment Partners. Joss, first of all, welcome to the Inside Network's Investment Leaders Forum, Noosa 2026.
Thank you very much, James. Excited to be here.
Disability accommodation and social infrastructure, they're very specialised areas. What trends are you seeing in the opportunity set at the moment?
Well, off the back of growing government expenditure, changing demographics, we're seeing incredible growth in the social infrastructure sector. If we think about our healthcare real estate business, for example, here at Barwon, we've got an aging demographic, a growing demographic with greater demand on services and greater need for both public and private healthcare offerings, which leads to more demand for real estate, which means more growth for the sector overall. If we think about disability accommodation, it's a portion of the living sector, which is we know we have terrible shortages of housing, let alone for people with extreme and severe disabilities. And so we're seeing growing need for that as the NDIS expands, and particularly for those who are high acuity needs, need a specialist form of housing. And what's the benefit of those is they have long-durated nature of their cash flows, underpinned by government funding.
In this part of the market, how should advisors think about the intersection of the social benefit, the government regulatory tailwinds, and then the long-term investment outcomes that are possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when you think about social infrastructure and why it exists, it's to support the human experience, and it does provide a material social benefit to the community. Think about that within the context of assets which may provide a social harm. Social assets which provide social good are likely to endure because they're supported by the community themselves. In addition to that, the government doesn't want to fund the creation of these assets and services themselves, but they'd actually rather incentivize the private market, who are much more efficient at delivering these outcomes as well. And that provides a huge opportunity. At the end of the day, the government doesn't have the balance sheet to build out all the real estate for all these services. They'd rather incentivize the private market to come in and attract the capital and build it out on behalf of the government to support society. And so what our role is to really excite and elevate that capital into the space to see where we see the greatest tailwinds supporting those social infrastructure assets, which at the end of the day are underpinned by services that are funded by the government. And what we like about those is the long-durated nature of the cash flows, the CPI-linked cash flows, and just the undersupply and the shortage of services that need to be fulfilled.
Why would you say these assets deserve a place in a portfolio and can deliver both resilience and returns in a long-term investment scenario? Because I imagine the lack of correlation would be a major attribute.
It is a major attribute. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of these social infrastructure assets are relatively new relative to your core style real estate assets. And by very nature of that, they have uncorrelated type returns. They have they're a bit misunderstood, bit unloved, but there's really good prospects in them as well. Again, they're CPI-linked rents, government-supported cash flows in services that are in critical need. They provide downside protection because of the nature of them being real assets as well, and underlying land values which go on and support the overall thesis.
I imagine it would be important that advisors understand that investing in this, they're really helping with a social need. They're really helping disabled people have much, much better accommodation than they've ever had, but that it's not necessarily weighted towards that social impact side. It does wash its face as a long-term investment.
Oh, it more than washes its face. We've been able to outperform the ASX 200 inception to date. We've been able to outperform the MSCI Mercer Unlisted Property Fund Index, whilst also delivering 118 people with severe disabilities housing that they can be proud of and hopefully stay there forever. So it more than washes its face. It actually has the opportunity to outperform other asset classes in similar risk-adjusted space.
Joss, across the leaders you've worked with in your career, what's the best piece of leadership advice you've heard that's really you've retained and it's resonated with you through your career?
Well, I think most importantly, what I've garnered from many great mentors and leaders that I've had is that leadership is not about directing or being an authoritarian. It's about exciting and enabling your people towards a purpose and a vision, and to deliver great outcomes, not only for our clients in this respect, but also for the broader community. So it's about understanding how to inspire and elevate and enable the people that you're working with.
Josh Engebretsen, Barwon Investment Partners, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.